Hello and welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended. Are you looking for your one-stop shop to tips and tricks for the newly remastered Valguero map? Well, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'll be showcasing 50 tips and tricks you need to know to aid you on your journey. And as always, I'll be starting with early game beginners tips and tricks and moving to more advanced tips later in the video. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Kicking things off with the introduction to Valguero's biomes. We begin our journey in the southeast where you'll find the iconic White Cliffs, consisting of a large open grassland region with beautiful scenery, waterfalls, and most notably surrounded in giant white cliffs, which is of course where the biome gets its name from. The White Cliffs is home to a great mix of beginner-friendly creatures, but also dangerous creatures too. The Allosaurus terrorizes these lands along with many other carnivores, but most notably the fan favorite Deinonychus, which have set up camp throughout the region. The White Cliffs may be a little scarce when it comes to woodland areas, but it is however rich with metal, crystal, and obsidian. Taking up the entire southwest region is a large redwoods biome, which is home to the red obelisk. One could expect to find beauty here like no other biome in ARK. The region offers a wide variety of terrain, flat, bumpy, vertical, you name it, the redwoods has it. Vast lakes and beautiful rivers and waterfalls found throughout. There really is a plethora of potential base locations in this biome. You'll find all the typical suspects inhabiting the area, the terrorbirds, the direbears, the pesky pegos, the troodons, and everything else in between. Not to mention the fan favorite tree huggers lurking high up in the trees, who are always ready to pounce and transfer their affection to us instead. Do tread lightly through these forests, as you may even stumble upon the broodmother's lair. The mountains are also rich with rare resources, so there is many reasons why you'll be wanting to visit the redwoods. In the west, we have the tundra. The region consists of a very uneven environment and terrain, so it will be quite challenging to inhabit without the appropriate plan. Not to mention the wildlife here are as dangerous as they come, featuring creatures that are typically adapted to cold climates like the deadly packs of direwolves, mammoth herds, the Argentavis, and the king of the land that is the Uranus. If you can thrive and survive here, it will be highly beneficial for many reasons, with great creatures to tame right on your doorstep, and rich with resources like metal, crystal, and obsidian. Taking up the entire northern region is a large snow biome, home to the blue obelisk and surprisingly not very cold temperatures at all. So if you like a warm snow biome, then this is the one for you, as I could run around butt naked here and still not be cold. Jokes aside, the biome offers everything any other snow biome offers in ARK, rich with metal, obsidian, oil, and crystal throughout. Home to all the usual suspects, the mammoth herds, the direwolf packs, the flocks of Argentavis, and the roaring Uranus, etc, etc. In the furthest northeast near the world barrier, a giant trench lies. This is home to the deadly ice wyvern, and also plenty of creepy crawlies crawling around near the lava below, including the mantis or the prowling pyromane. So if you like them, you won't find them anywhere else on the map. Each end of the trench leads to a large fiery cave system filled with boiling hot lava. You better watch your step and your back, as this cavern is guarded by angry fire wyverns ready to roast anything that comes close to their nests. In the east, we have dense jungles. You can, however, discover hidden beauty beneath these trees, which offer some great base locations, also offering a wide variety of fauna inhabiting the region, including the fierce and deadly Therizinosaurus prowling the shadows of the jungle. Avoiding those may see you stumbling across the iconic memorial statue, with the most picturesque scenery you can find on Valguero. Surrounding one of the larger lakes lies a swamp. This houses all those typical swamp dwellers, which offers all the same perks of any other swamp biome in the game. And to close out our map tour, we have the Boreal Forest, which takes up the majority of the central map. This area is massive and once again offers a plethora of interesting and quirky places to set up your base. Larger grasslands, plateaus, beautiful rivers, lakes, and waterfalls, some of which are inhabited by beavers swimming peacefully adjacent to the green obelisk. It offers many unique points of interest, including a few Lord of the Rings references, one being a familiar ruin known as Weathertop, where I'm sure Frodo will be looking to forget. Cute little hobbit houses to potentially use as a home for your own. The beach areas are relatively beginner friendly, but as soon as you head inland in any direction, you'll be facing much more dangerous adversaries. Valguero definitely doesn't make it easy for the beach bobs. Speaking of easy starter locations, the small island spawn is by far the best location. Spawning here will see you setting foot on the redwoods beaches, and for the most part the beaches are beginner friendly, inhabited by mostly herbivores. Most notably, the best start location is on the small island itself in the middle of the lake, which is what I'm dubbing Herbivore Island. No aggressive threats will spawn here at all, and it's an amazing area to start your Valguero journey. Moving on to the hidden regions of Valguero, beginning with the Aberration zone, which does have two entrances entrances. The go-to entrance found in the direct center of the map, located around 38.3 latitude and 58 longitude. You could spot this from a mile off due to the excessive amount of large purple glowing crystals at the front of the entrance. You'll be able to easily access this with any land creature. The second entrance is found in the eastern jungles, consisting of a large waterhole that you could jump on into, located at 32.3 latitude, 92.6 longitude. The Aberration zone is a no-flyer zone, so you will be dismounted from flyers when flying near the entrances. The Aberration zone features its own green zone and irradiated red zone, rich with resources, loot, and now a rock drake nesting ground. In this region, you'll find fauna that typically spawn in these biomes on Aberration. Aberrant variants, light pets, Aberration DLC creatures including the basilisk, roll rat, reapers, and rock drakes, just to name a few. The region is abundant with Aberration resources, allowing survivors to easily gather and craft engrams from Aberration, so it will be a place you'll be frequently visiting. The final hidden region is the Abyss, which is a large underground ocean, giving most deep-sea aquatic creatures a home on Valguero. So if you want to tame some of them, then this is the place to be. It has 3 entrances, but I'll show the best 2 here. One is found inside a cave in the tundra, which comes in the form of a beautiful waterfall located at 34.6 latitude, 9.1 longitude. The hidden secrets can be found behind the falls, rich with metal and crystal throughout, but also features 2 pools of water that once diving into will lead you down into the abyss. The second entrance, which is the best and easiest, is located at the furthest right of the central lake when looking at the map, located at around 63.6 latitude, 73.2 longitude, right below the white cliffs, so it is very easy to spot once diving into the water. Heading through into the cave entrance, you will traverse a very long tunnel that will eventually lead you down into the heart of the abyss. Although not as easy to do on Valguero as it is on Ragnarok, Valguero does offer wild veggies and plentiful Equus. Spawning at Beach Zone 2 to kickstart your journey is the one you want. This will spawn you on either the White Cliff side or the jungle side of the river. I was lucky enough to spawn here on the White Cliff side on this occasion, and what you can do is head up the beach toward the northwest, and you'll find a bunch of rock carrots right on the beach, located at around 67.4 latitude, 76.7 longitude. I didn't get too many from this cluster, but if you head down the beach further north, you can find more clusters of these carrots, and depending on your luck, you could potentially tame yourself an Equus right off the bat, as they are very common spawns in the White Cliffs. This is much harder to do than Ragnarok's Highlands due to the Allosaurus and raptors commonly spawning here, but there's still a chance it can go well, so I figured it was worth mentioning. More carrots can be found in a few more spots close by. This spot is a bit further inland from the first cluster, located at around 72.6 latitude, 73.5 longitude. And yes, you cannot see them, which is why the next tip is the grass size scale command. You can choose to set it to 0, but I personally like to use 0.4 as I like a bit of grass in my life. You'll be able to see any crops clear as the light of day after using this command. Moving back to the Beach Zone 2 spawn, you will find many dead turtles down the beach along the White Cliffs. These can be harvested for keratin, hide, and spoiled meat. In addition to that, you can transfer to the opposite side of the river, where you'll find many dead dolphins along the coast. These can be harvested for hide, spoiled meat, and organic polymer. Pickaxe is great for early game, and chainsaw for late game. By far the best spot I've found is at 42 latitude, 38.1 longitude. Loads of dolphins and turtles in this location alone. You'll be coming home rich. And just in case you are looking for more crops, you can find a bunch around this ruin located at around 54.4 latitude, 52.4 longitude. You'll be able to find long grass, savroot, and rock carrots here. There are 2 different versions of the rock carrot plants, but if you're using the grass size scale command, you will have no problems in spotting them. Beaver dams can be found near bodies of water in specific locations on the map. You can find a bunch of beavers and dams in these lakes below the green obelisk. You can also find a bunch here in the tundra, found around the large open area with the small rivers. A terrible place for them to call home, as it is extremely hostile. Beaver dams can be accessed and looted for large amounts of wood, cementing paste, and small amounts of silica pearls, rare flowers, and rare mushrooms. Once accessing the dam, every beaver in the area will become hostile to you. Be sure to take everything out of the dam to allow for more to respawn. So the best spot to farm safe and easy oil is going to be the oil cave located at 49 latitude, 19.6 longitude on the edge of the tundra. Inside there are many harvestable oil rocks and also a couple of oil veins where you can place down your pumps and pump it up. The dung beetle is also a great way to passively produce oil and fertilizer over time. However, the only spot to find and tame them is up north in the Wyvern Trench. Yes, I know, the Wyvern Trench. Not the safest of areas, that's for sure. Located in the furthest north part of the map. So if you don't have the ability to pick it up with a flyer, you will most likely need a bodyguard of some sort to deal with the dangerous threats. The Megaraptor is a perfect candidate, as it can kill many of the bugs in the trench to receive the insect killer buff and easily kill everything it comes across. Plus, it is a really good chitin and organic polymer farm due to the mantis spawning here. The trench does have a pathway and a bridge that leads down to the bottom, which I did not take here, but it is worth mentioning. Once you have found your dung beetle and it is safe to do so, run on up to it and shove sport meat, medium or large feces up its bum from your final hotbar slot to tame. Once tamed, throw them in a cage back at base, stick them on wander to allow passive production. They will automatically pick up any dropped feces in a nearby radius unless turned off via the radial menu, and well above their weight capacity to the point where they become slot capped. Any feces inside their inventory will be converted into oil and fertilizer over time. Bish! While we're here in the Wyvern Trench, it would be rude not to show you how I like to steal my first Wyvern egg. We're going for the Ice Wyverns, of course, as it is easier. We're just using a tamed 150 Pteranodon here with a decent saddle. So firstly, you'll want to scout the area of creatures that you can use to bait Wyverns to. You can normally find a load of mammoths on the one side of the trench and directly above Argentavis, Utis and other stuff. I like to drag a bunch of Argies towards the spot that I want to rob the egg from. And if it is my first Wyvern egg, I try to target the higher nest if possible to reduce the risk. The key is not to aggro any wyverns before flying into the nest, because that could end badly for us. Once landing in the nest, regain your stamina, steal the egg, and gun straight for your live bait with a spin attack for a cheeky speed boost. And the wyverns should aggro to the bait, where you should make a clean getaway. And as the famous Anchorman saying goes, it works 60% of the time, every time. To feed your baby wyverns, you will be needing milk. Either you trank out a wild female wyvern, which I like to do with a fast, agile mount like the Procoptodon, as you can shoot from the back of them. Wyverns don't seem to torp or flee anymore in ASA, so I have never ever needed to trap one. You can pelt it with tranks until it falls asleep, ideally with a high damage crossbow or long neck rifle, or you can target low levels if you do not have access to those. Grab the milk and kill it off for easy XP. The second method is from a tamed female bison. They can be found in the central areas on the map. They are a relatively easy knockout tame, and once tamed you can access the perks of bison milk from any female once a baby bison is nearby. Bison milk gives many unique perks, where once consumed by the player, will double all active status effects, soups being a good example of this. It will also rapidly increase a player's health by around 100 HP upon consumption. Baby wyverns love to drink it, and when imprinting any baby it will instantly grow by 10%. Now that you have your ice wyvern baby maturing, the ice wyvern does also have its own unique perk. Its inventory acts as a portable refrigerator, which gives most consumable items a massively increased spoil timer. This will be a great way to store your wyvern and bison milk and many other consumables. Speaking of ice, I wanted to highlight a very important area on the map, which is this small woodland region found on the cliffs above the middle river/lake. This is a very unique area, as herbivorous creatures that typically spawn in snow biomes will actually spawn here in this warmer region. So mammoths, anklos, woolly rhinos, Deinonychus and Stegos all can be commonly found and tamed here. And the best thing about this spot is that direwolves and Tyrannus, which are highly dangerous threats in the snow biome, do not spawn here at all. So the only real dangers here are probably saber-tooths and scorpions, but the herbivores tend to make short work of them anyway. There is also a Deinonychus nesting ground here too, so it is really a hotspot for many reasons. It's one of my favorite areas to go on a taming spree, and I always make it my mission to get here as soon as possible in the early game. As Valguero is a non-story map, you will need to have the Scorched Earth and Aberration DLC maps installed to be able to access the Engrams. If you don't have them installed, the Engrams will be blacked out, so you won't be able to access them at all. So if you are encountering this issue, this is why. There is an important piece of information you'll be wanting to know regarding supply beacons that come down from the sky, especially if you are looking for Deinonychus or Megaraptor saddles and blueprints. Down in the highlighted area we have the White Cliffs. Every single supply beacon that spawns in this area is a Scorched Earth beacon, which consists of green, blue, purple, yellow and red. They do also spawn here and there over the map, but this is a spot where they are guaranteed to spawn, so if you want Scorched Earth items you probably want to be looking in the White Cliffs. You will not find any Deinonychus or Megaraptor saddles medals from these types of drops. Throughout the center of the map and the redwoods, you'll find a variety of regular, scorched earth, and the new Valguero beacons. And from my experience, the best spot to farm the new Valguero beacons, which only come in purple, yellow, and reds, is throughout the entire snow biome in the north. I'm pretty certain all beacons that came down here were only Valguero beacons. The redwoods and the central mainland also spawn many of these Valguero drops, so the snow and the redwoods are the best biomes for these. The Valguero purple beacons are the only place you can find Deinonychus saddles and blueprints, whereas the yellow and red Valguero beacons are the only places you can find a Megaraptor saddle or blueprint. These three colors do also seemingly replace the regular purple, yellow, and red drops from other maps, so until they add them to the loot tables of other drops on other maps, then Valguero is probably the only place you're going to find them. Adding to the many great ways to harvest organic polymer on Valguero, I've got two more for you. Come to 37.9 latitude, 84.7 longitude. Here in the swamp, you'll find many Rex and Stego carcasses, and we'll find more moving further through the swamp towards the south. Simply whip out your chainsaw and get to work. The second method is from harvesting these red organic polymer plants. These bushes can be found in most caves and are also abundant in Aberration's red zone, but there is a great spot above land here in the redwoods. You'll be looking for this giant open tree stump, which is pretty close to the red obelisk for a good reference, located at 80.5 latitude, 15.8 longitude. And if you own a diabear or an elderclaw, you will be laughing. They harvest these bushes for crazy amounts of organic polymer. 1 times harvesting rates, by the way. The Deinonychus is hands down the best carnivore that you can obtain in the early stages of the game, and one you'll be using for the entirety of your playthrough. They spawn most commonly around the White Cliffs, but also a few spots in the jungle. Honestly, the easiest way to grab an egg is just scout the area and wait for an opening. The Pteranodon is a great method. Just swoop on in, land in the nest, snatch and grab, and make a smooth getaway. You can easily incubate the egg with some campfires or a bunch of standing torches, where the baby will then eat any type of meat. Once adult and saddled up, the Deinonychus is a fast and agile mount, can jump and now glide great distances, to the point where it almost feels like using a Maywing. Maybe a slight bit of exaggeration there, but damn, they are fun to use. Not only can they glide like Superman, but they also take 0 fall damage from any height, just like him too. They really are the ultimate traversal mount. The rider can wield weapons when mounted to dish out extra damage or to aid in knockout taming. Their bite, although not dealing too much base damage, does inflict a nasty bleed effect which can be stacked up to 5 times, draining 1.5% of the target's max health over the duration. They have the ability to latch onto targets to aid in taking down their prey, and can take down far larger threats than themselves. This is now the only bleed effect that works against bosses, as of the recent changes to the Deinonychus. We'll showcase their bleed a little more later in the video. They also share similar pack buffs to the Raptor, where the pack leader can call and buff the damage and damage resistance to all members of the pack. Adding to that, the Deinonychus can latch onto and scale vertical surfaces. I kept this one separate due to a lot of people asking me how to do it. Think of it like matching the beat to a song. Aim to where you want to go, then press the jump button in some sort of rhythm. Kinda like jump and jump, jump, jump. So hopefully that makes sense. If you just spam the button, it will not work and you won't really go anywhere. While on the subject of new creatures, we have the Megaraptor, so I figured I would give a few tips when taming. You want to bring a few high quality torches if you have any, or a load of primitive ones. High quality torches will deal slightly more torpor and have better durability. After interacting with the altar with your torch out, you can use the r.fog0 command if you don't like all that fog. The easiest way I've found is to either move constantly to the left or right of your screen, depending on your preference, which causes your character to walk around the altar in circles. This way the Megaraptor attacks from the side and not from behind. Once you hear the sound cue of it attacking you, swing that bad boy and you should get a successful hit. You don't even have to really aim for the most part, and it deals torpor almost every single time. Big shout out to my friend Krabbytron for showing off this tip. She has a great taming guide on YouTube, so go check it out and show her some love. Link is in the description of the video. Chalk golems, ice golems, and also the dire polar bear can now be tamed and transferred through cryopods. I never got a chance to tame any of these creatures in ASE, but rumor has it that once cryopoded, they were stuck in the cryopod forever and that they could never be transferred to other maps. Well, on my server, all 3 work as intended with cryopods, so they should be transferable for everyone else too. So you will be needing a ton of loot on your travels, and there is no easier early to mid-game loot farm than the lava artifact cave. The cave entrance can be found around 34.2 latitude, 51.4 longitude, in the direct center of the map. It is very easy to spot if no one has built above or has harvested this giant pink blossom tree above the cave. There is a unique perk of running this cave that we do not usually have access to when running artifact caves, and that is flyers can actually be used in this cave. 3 cave loot crates can spawn at a time, consisting of blue, yellow and red crates. There are only a few spots where they can spawn in the lava section, but usually on the side of small cliffs around the cave walls. Once picked up, these crates did however instantly respawn. I picked up 3 crates, left the cave, came back in after waiting around at the entrance for around a minute, and all 3 had respawned. Anyway, you'll be able to fit a pteranodon in through the entrance, and I guess it can be a bit dicey, but you can easily bait the bats away from the loot and grab it in time before they reach you, fly off and just rinse and repeat until you have all the loot, and return half an hour to 45 minutes later. It is by far the quickest and easiest loot farm on Valguero. You'll be in and out within a minute or so. Quick and easy loot is always too good to pass up. The lava cave is also a quick and easy chitin farm at the earlier and mid stages of the game. The Megaraptor has full access to the cave and can clear house in just a few minutes, netting yourself thousands of chitin. We all need lots of honey for lots of things in ARK, and there's no better way to obtain that than taming a giant queen bee. But where do you find them? Well, pretty much everywhere. I actually haven't seen one beehive yet. However, the roaming bees are found everywhere. My favourite spot is to check the beaches around this spot here in the direct centre of the map, around 43.6 latitude, 37.9 longitude. There is usually a good amount of queen bees roaming around in this area. Once you have found yourself a giant queen bee, spray yourself down with bug repellent, run on up to it with simple kibble in your final hotbar slot, spam the feed button to death, and shove a piece of that kibble up its bum. And boom, easy bee tame. I like to always wear ghillie armor, but it is optional and not actually needed. I just feel like it's my safety blanket when wearing it. This is the spot that has worked best for me on the map. It's relatively beginner friendly, mostly herbivores around, and they always seem to spawn in this area, especially the little island surrounded by the rivers. I was able to tame 3 in a row here without any issues, so I highly recommend checking out this spot if you're having a tough time. You are going to need a good supply of rare flowers if you have 3 beehives like me, and there's really no better place to go other than the swamp. You'll be needing to look for these pretty little pink flowers, which are found throughout the entirety of the swamp. Bring along a Therizinosaurus with levels pumped into delicate harvesting, and what you want to do is walk him up to the flowers and dismount. Let the ferry do the harvesting and it will harvest way more when unridden. You'll have so many rare flowers you won't know what to do with them. While here in the swamp, you can also utilize the Therizino in gathering heaps of rare mushrooms. It helps a little if you have a ferry pumped into power harvesting for this one. You're looking for the trees that look like this. Once again, hundreds in the swamp, you can't miss them. It's time to slap away and you will amass a good amount of rare mushrooms in no time at all. We now move down into the Aberration zone. These brown capped mushrooms are beneficial if you are looking to net yourself some aberrant mushrooms, found everywhere throughout the entire biome. The Iguanodon comes in quite handy for gathering a good amount of these. There are 2 types of specific mushroom bush I wanted to highlight. The first one being the red-capped mushrooms, which are much rarer than the brown ones, but are well worth searching for. I found this sweet spot here at 31.2 latitude, 86.3 longitude. And if you're looking for some sort of reference, you're looking for this structure, as it's located right underneath that on the cliff. The Iguanodon once again gathers a ridiculous amount of mushrooms from these bushes, and small amounts of biotoxin, which is probably going to be the best source of biotoxin on the map, due to jellyfish being very rare. You can also use the Diabear or a Moss Chops, which will both gather aberrant mushrooms over regular mushrooms, while also harvesting a bit of biotoxin and rare flowers. The sickle is also very effective for gathering heaps of aberrant mushrooms. The best rare mushroom spot for quantity is from these types of bushes, which you can find in the red zone. They are literally everywhere, so you can't miss them. You'll find the entrance at around 35.7 latitude, 65.2 longitude. The red zone is fully irradiated, so wearing a full hazard suit is required to protect you from the radiation. Once again, the Iguanodon is amazing for gathering these, also with the other herbivores like the Diabear being great for harvesting the aberrant mushrooms. You'll also be needing congealed gas spores for a number of craftable items. You'll find 3 gas veins here at 43.1 latitude, 62.7 longitude. If you are looking for green, blue and red gems, you can actually follow a roll rat around and wait for it to bury itself and spring out of the ground. It will drop a small random selection of gems when doing so. It does, however, not take kindly to thieves and will become aggressive to you once you steal their precious jewelry. I was actually struggling to find a good amount of green gems in one spot, but this cluster is relatively easy to find, located located at around 21.5 latitude, 68.7 longitude. For reference, if heading down the main ramp entrance, hug the main cave to the left until you reach these purple crystals, and the gems are found at the top of the cliff there. For blue and red gems, I like to head to this blue gem cluster located at around 35.3 latitude, 65.6 longitude, which is right at the entrance to the red zone. So if you are also looking for red gems, you get the best of both worlds in the same location. You can head down the path from here into the red zone, and there are a ton of red gem clusters and a few more blue clusters throughout the entire red zone. High and low, and also plenty of those organic polymer plants if you want those too. There is also another great perk to the red zone. Pretty much every single rock here can be harvested for large amounts of metal, and unlike Aberration's red zone, Valguero's isn't half as dangerous. So you can saddle up your Carcasses equipped with 2 Aberrant Ankies, ideally Aberrant as they are immune to radiation. Guide your Ankies around and let them go to town. An abundance of rich metal will be flowing through your fingertips, or pincers, shall we say. Everybody wants to tame a Reaper Queen on Valguero, and you can easily do it. Luckily, they do seem to spawn a little better than rock drakes do, and of course they only spawn in the red zone. What I like to do is ride my Filer. I brought along some mushroom soups to feed my Filer to give it that important resistance to radiation. Heading straight down the ramp from here, sometimes I do have to go into the deeper part of the trench to find a queen, but I've also found quite a few on the first ramp once headed in like I did on this occasion. Be sure to turn your light pet on and begin bleeding its health down with the Filer. Just be sure you don't hit it too many times and kill it, because that's the last thing we want. You can, however, check its health with a magnifying glass while riding the Filer, which is lovely. And let's say once below 1000 health, turn off your light pet. You will now see a red aura around the Reaper's belly. This means you have damaged it enough and it is ready to impregnate some poor, or lucky survivor if you are me. Sometimes it does take a while, but I find that if you dismount briefly here and there, when it is safe to do so of course, it does show a lot more interest. It will perform an animation with its tail, scooping you off your tame, and there we go, the deed is done. Sometimes you do die here, which is fine, but I always bring med brews and can usually survive after chugging down a few. There is one more resource we haven't covered here in the red zone, and it is black pearls. You can also find quite a lot of black pearls in the deep parts of the abyss, but I find the red zone much quicker and easier to farm, plus you don't have to go underwater, which is always a plus point for me. Black pearl clams are found everywhere right at the bottom of the red zone trench where the rock drake nests are located. My current location is at 48 latitude, 59.7 longitude, right at the end of the trench where the artifact is located, and I got my trusty whip with me to snatch them right up off the ground. There is so many in here, you'll be able to come away with thousands. Of course, if you don't have a whip, you can just pick them up by hand, but I would be very surprised if you didn't have a whip at this point. My first mid to late game best loot farm is going to be the red zone loot crates, and ideally to farm these crates quickly you want to be using a rock drake. While that is if they actually spawn in on your server, I really do hope they fix the rock drake spawns as soon as possible. All of the drops that spawn down here are seemingly purple, yellow and red aberration crates, so this will be your go-to for finding high quality aberration saddles and gear like the hazard suit etc. But these do also drop a lot of high quality weaponry and armor too, like flak and long neck rifles just for example. There is around 3 or 4 that spawn at a time, but following suit to the previous loot crate methods, these crates will respawn almost instantly. You can find drops spawning on most of the ledges at the top around the circumference of the rock drake trench, and also the middle floor if you can call it that, where also rock drake nests can be found, and all throughout the bottom of it where nests and the artifact lie. So you'll be alternating from searching high and low for these, as there is a good number of locations where they can spawn. This red zone is however very tiny, which is why it is the best method for me and easiest way to farm loot. I did initially think these drops were unlimited, but after picking up around 12 they did stop respawning, so maybe they do need a rest at some point. So if you do find yourself in the same boat as me and the crates stop respawning, maybe return half an hour or so later and rinse and repeat the process. And for the best mid to late game loot crate farm, you'll be wanting to pay Milton's Grotto a visit. The cave entrance is located in a hidden crack in the white cliffs at around 78.3 latitude, 90.4 longitude. A beautiful cave with a lot of meaning and love behind its design. And there he is inside, Milton the dog befriending an Evo Rex. Big love to Milton and up from the depths. One important perk to note is that flyers can actually be used in this cave. I do actually prefer to run it with a rock drake, as there is an underwater section with infested waters containing piranha and high level sarcos, so it's best to be safe, and at least the rock drake can defend itself pretty well. Milton isn't just a gentle soul by nature, but he likes to reward us survivors with a ton of tasty loot. I do believe there's 4 red loot crates that will spawn at a time, and they do also have a tendency to double respawn. As you can see here, this one instantly respawned as soon as I turned away, so you can't complain about that. These are the same red cave crates that spawn in the swamp cave from the island, so it is probably the best loot crate you'll find on Valguero. So you'll probably be able to grab in between 6 and 8 loot crates just from one run through. Better late than never, but yes, I did forget to include sap earlier in the video, and it is a very important resource that we need a lot of in ARK. The best way to harvest by hand is coming to the small island spawn and looking for these types of tree stumps, located at around 55.2 latitude, 37.9 longitude. These tree stumps are all over this small island, and also on the opposite side of the water, scaling that beach over there, towards the southwest. And as always, the chainsaw is the best way to gather the most amount of sap. You'll probably be able to come away with a few hundred or so, which is not too bad. The second method is the tree sap tap, which can be unlocked at level 36, so you'll be wanting to get some set up early on. They can be attached to the giant redwood trees. I've always placed a tree platform down first, and then placed the sap taps on top of that for easy access. Once placed, will produce sap over time, roughly around 1 sap every 10 minutes, and will cap out at 30 where you need to take it out for it to begin producing more. One more thing to note is that you can find a lot of these redwood trees down in the Aberration zone, right in front of the red zone entrance, so if you are based down there, then you'll be more than happy. So now we move on to the Wild Broodmother mini boss, which is another great way to farm high quality loot. She can be found guarding the entrance to the lair, which is the artifact cave. There is a ramp that leads down into it, located around 76.4 latitude, 43.2 longitude. All you need is a few strong Megatheriums with decent saddles, and they make short work of her. She can spawn with quite a lot of health, but this all depends on her level, which is totally randomized. I only had a level 20 here in my case, which had 648,000 health, but I have seen her spawning at over 2 million health with higher levels on other occasions. You might be thinking, oh wow, that's a lot of health, but don't let that scare you. She is really squishy and takes massively increased damage as opposed to the main Broodmother boss. Once slain, you will be rewarded with some tasty loot. So far, the Brood has commonly dropped fabricated weapons, Flak and Riot armor, Ferrazino, Giga and Karka, Uti and Rhinianathus saddles, etc, etc. So it's a great way to farm yourself some saddles and blueprints for some awesome creatures. Once killed, she roughly takes around 45 minutes to respawn. Okie dokie, so if you're struggling to beat Grendel on alpha difficulty, here's how I like to do it. After farming the Broodmother a lot, I was able to get some nice Ferrazino saddle blueprints, so I'm bringing 19 Ferrazinos and 1 Deinonychus. If you have more people to ride them, I'd definitely bring a Uti and maybe a Daedon to make things much easier, but as I'm running it solo, it's just too much to manage for me. All have 110 to 120 armor saddles, all bred without any mutations, just leveled up a lot, and no crazy strong traits or anything like that. I've got 10 sweet veggie cakes on all Ferrazinos to heal them up. I've quickly farmed some Wyvern milk, which I stuck on the Deinonychus. The Wyvern milk can help a lot, as once force fed will give the creature immunity to bleed damage for 2 minutes. I've mainly just pumped the health on the Deinonychus and some points into damage. Gear wise, I've got the usual, including med brews and some spare sets of armor, due to the vultures that the boss spawns in the arena. She has a 600,000 health pool, but don't let that fool you. She hits like a truck, with high damaging attacks that inflict bleed damage over time, which is why we brought along Wyvern milk. And just like any other boss fight, command your ferries to attack the boss while defending you from vultures, which spawn in waves from time to time, along with waves of Deinonychus. Never fight the vultures yourself, as they spawn at level 500, and will tear your character a new one, as they attack riders over mounts. I actually think the vultures are more deadlier than the boss itself, but if you round them up and run past your ferries while whistling aggressive, they should take care of them pretty swiftly. Anyway, while riding your Deinonychus, try to hit the boss without it hitting you, and let the bleed damage do the work. Fight bleed with bleed, I guess. I do try to jump up and down at the back of its tail to get a few hits in. The boss will struggle to hit you when attacking from this position. When it jumps on up into the sky, you want to avoid the red target indicator at all costs, as it will perform a slam attack that deals a lot of AoE damage and bleed. And when the fog comes back in and the fire pit is highlighted, group your ferries up close by, attack the fire pit, which will summon the boss, and run back to your ferries for them to take the full aggro. Resume attacking its tail and just rinse and repeat this until it is killed. Admittedly quite a difficult fight on alpha, as I did lose 1 ferry and a lot were pretty low on health. I did want to emphasize how deadly the vultures are though. If you for some reason get stuck or the game breaks, like in my case here, or maybe you make the mistake of diving straight into a mosh pit with your ferries with no way to get out, it could only be for a short duration, but they can quickly swarm you and take your life in an instant. All that work wasted, to a vulture. Feels bad, man. And I do like the fact that the boss isn't just a breed an army type deal and sit back roaring on the Uranus for a few minutes. There is a lot more strategy behind this one, but I figured I would point out that I did not do this on my first attempt and died to vultures at least 3 times before perfecting the strategy. Let the satisfying and relaxing resource location montage begin. Well, if you made it this far, you're an absolute legend, and what better way to end the video by sending you to my other videos. If you're looking for the best creatures to tame on Valguero, well, I have you covered with a top 10 creatures you need to tame. If you're looking for a nice base location, I have a top 20 best PvE base spots to set up your base. Or maybe you are struggling to find certain types of loot on the map. Well, I have this video here where I open up 150 of every loot crate to hit the nail on the head. All links will be in the description of the video and in a pinned comment. This video was a right marathon, so if you found yourself enjoying it or found it helpful in any way, I'd really appreciate a like, comment, share around and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Goodbye.